since you could buy a stacked townhome for $125,000 in Orleans, that they were going to wait for the market to crash and for the rates to drop. And I'm going back to like 2006. So those people, they were waiting. And then of course, when the rates dropped, the prices went up and they didn't buy again. And they said they were going to wait for the market to crash. So the market never crashed. The market just kept doing what it does. It goes through these weird cycles and people find a way to buy, or people complain about not being able to afford a home but still kind of want to own a home, I guess, but don't really come up with a plan. And then they just complain about Canada, a market crash, waiting for rates to drop, waiting for prices to go down, and it just keeps going on and on and on.
You're listening to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast with your hosts, Paul Stevenson, David Warren, and Greg Campbell. Let's see what's going on in the world of real estate today.
Hello! Welcome back to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast, your go-to source for all things real estate in the nation's capital. I'm your host, Paul Stevenson, and I'm joined by my co-hosts and amazing humans, David Warren and Greg Campbell, and we're here to bring you the latest insights, tips, and trends in the Ottawa housing market. Before we dive into today's episode, gentlemen, did you know that most of our listeners aren't subscribed to the podcast? Crazy to think about. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode, and you'll be the first to know about the latest updates and valuable information we share. So take a moment now, hit that subscribe button, and while you're at it, give us a like. And I should say, gentlemen, don't just subscribe to the YouTube. Subscribe to our socials as well. We're always putting out great content, are we not? Is it just me? Is it just me?
Always.
We have actually recently, we've been seeing a lot more questions and comments on our opinions. And we just want to say, if you do have questions, or if you need more information, or if you just want to chat, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm throwing that in there.
Call us.
We're always here to engage with our community, are we not?
We are.
Are we not?
We love the comments. I want to get into some of these comments because I do appreciate them. Comments are what keeps you on your toes.
Get into it, Greg.
It's like people are, they're like, you know what? There's something that I agree with, or there's something that I don't agree with, and I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to mention it, and I'm going to see what these guys think.
And the good thing about 2024 is that everyone has an opinion, and everyone can voice that opinion evenly.
It's true. I have a couple of comments here based on that, and what I've been noticing in general is that many of the real estate platforms on YouTube or social media in general in Canada right now, a lot of them are promoting a market crash, the collapse of Canadian real estate, as it were. And, there was one comment that came up, talking about a bubble. We're in a bubble. And I remember that, we've basically been in a bubble for 20 years, according to globally, from what I've read and followed since 2002. So we're kind of in year 22, I guess, of a real estate bubble in Canada because of the influx of immigration and money coming in from overseas to buy real estate, which has, caused it to increase in value so quickly without necessarily going to the people that need it the most. So this is something that's very common. We talk about it all the time. Now, my problem with this is that as I've been in the industry for this long, there's been people telling me since you could buy a stacked townhome for $125,000 in Orleans, that they were going to wait for the market to crash and for the rates to drop. And I'm going back to 2006. So those people, they were waiting. And then of course, when the rates dropped, the prices went up and they didn't buy again. And they said they were going to wait for the market to crash. So the market never crashed. The market just kept doing what it does. It goes through these weird cycles and people find a way to buy, or people complain about not being able to afford a home but still kind of want to own a home, I guess, but don't really come up with a plan. And then they just complain about Canada, a market crash, waiting for rates to drop, waiting for prices to go down. And it just keeps going on and on and on. So on our show, what we do is we talk about what's in front of us, what we're seeing every single day. We're not here, we have our opinions of what we think may happen, but we don't speculate. We're not speculators. It's not like we're on the show saying the market's going to crash or the market's going up. You need to get out and buy. What we say is, if we're talking about buying, we're saying now might be a good time for you to look at buying if you're considering it because of, the prices are down a little bit. There's not as many homes on the market. There's a good buys. It's wintertime. It's a good time to buy. What does most people do? They wait till spring when everyone's shopping instead of buying a house in the winter that was $100,000 less. So, for those people that talk about us pumping the market and all that kind of shit, I think that's just a bunch of baloney. You guys are talking baloney. We talk about what's in front of us and we deliver solid content every week. I have a comment. Excuse me. I need to catch up with myself here. I made a comment on just a remark that happened on YouTube. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I think this is it's a very good point that I'm making here. So this gentleman says, prices aren't on the decline, quote, bald guy. I guess he's talking about Paul Stevenson because David and I have full heads of hair, beautiful, glowing heads of hair.
What are you talking about?
You can. So prices aren't on the decline. I'm saying decline, not decline. Decline. Bald guy. You can tell if he didn't even believe the words coming out of his mouth, LOL in caps. This podcast is a joke. How can you attempt to pump in this terrible market? My reply, I think it's important to remember that we don't pump anything. We just acknowledge what we see in front of us day to day and relay that information to the general public. If and when the market dumps, guess what? We'll be talking about that and how to strategize a home purchase and sale. If there's anything we've learned about real estate is that no matter whether the market is up or down, people still want to buy. It's our job to make sure that everyone knows exactly what's happening in Ottawa today. On the next episode, you'll hear me talking about 2 multiple offers I was involved with personally. Guess I'm pumping the market though, right? Because that could never happen. Those buyers must be crazy. And that's a fact. I was involved in 2 multiple offers last week. So market crash, multiple offers, it doesn't matter. It's like people want to buy and sell. If it affects you directly, then deal with the problem. If you want to sit there and analyze the entire existence of everything that's going on in Canada or the world, then do that and keep making your comments. And I wish you good luck with whatever portfolio and investments or non-investments that you have. But the more that you talk about it, the less it's going to happen and going to work against you, not in your favor. Complainers don't get things done. Thank you.
I think you make a very good point too. And the people speculating or saying that there's this market crash, like they're just analyzing the market and they're probably not in it. And they're probably not working in it every day and seeing all of the transactions. I think we all agree in the last week and a half, the market has definitely seemingly turned a corner again. Literally since our last episode, I know just in talking to both of you that the market has seen an uptick. So,
but still,
but that's again, it doesn't matter. Like that doesn't mean that prices have gone up 10%. It doesn't mean that they've gone down 10%. Or there's some big crash or the market's booming. It's just an active market. There's just people out shopping. There's people selling, and things are happening. Like there's,
it's healthy. It's very healthy right now. People are shopping. People are taking their time as they should. And there's more listings coming out. Like I said last episode, when we get into next week, I think we may have the data back, but we're going to be the highest listings for the month of June since they started recording listings in the Ottawa Real Estate Board. I can guarantee you that we're going to see the most we've ever seen. So now, is someone going to take that and be like, oh, there's so many listings, the market must be crashing? It's like, no, for the market to crash, there's going to be some major global and national economic changes that are going to affect everyone. And that may or may not happen specifically, or in bigger cities first, smaller cities, maybe not. We don't know. Because maybe the people will leave the big cities, and where do they go? They go to the small cities. And then it increases out there, but the market's crashing. We're all going to die. Jesus.
Hey, David.
I'm out of here.
Welcome to the show, David Warren.
I think Greg wore a perfect shirt for this ramble as well. Like the most colorful shirt he's worn in ages, and he wears it for this.
I'm having fun today, man.
Oh, okay.
And anyways, to the point, sorry to keep rambling here, but 2 multiple offers last week. One, it was a great sale, but it showed that, and this is on the lower end. So this is 400,000 renovated. We priced it what we thought perfectly, but after 12 showings, And an open house, we got 2 offers, and they were both under asking. And it ended up selling in multiples under ask, but sold firm. The other one that I did on Friday, it was up for 24 hours, and we knew we had a very special property, original owner, perfect location, incredible update. The whole home was updated. And then we got somebody in at 9 a.m. They came and saw it twice. There was about 6 other showings. These guys submitted their offer, and the next morning we got 2 other offers, and it ended up going to the right person. And they got it just for a little bit over ask, and it was great. It went to someone that lived in the community. They lived in the neighborhood. Their parent, grew up down the street, wanted to buy his own house, wanted to stay. All he knows is Stittsville, wanted to be there, loves it. And he got the house. It was a good story. But, those things are happening. Like, clearly, for me to be involved in 2, I don't know how many happened over the weekend, but, more than 2. I'll tell you that.
Son. Can I be an advocate for the devil? Can I play devil's advocate here?
Yep.
I did tell a story. I told you guys about this on our socials. Okay. Exclusive content on our socials, but I'm going to say it here now too. So not exclusive anymore. I had a client recently who was considering buying a new build, closing in a year from now. And that wasn't the plan originally, but that's what they're toying with currently. But they basically bought a place 3 years ago, paid mid sixes, 650, let's say. The mortgage balance is still sitting around 640 currently. They put 5% down, et cetera, right? So huge balance. The property's now worth 600. So for them to sell that property, they're paying 640 plus, let's say, a $10,000 penalty to get out of that mortgage. Then they're going to pay, let's say, 30,000 in realtor fees. Let's just assume 5% plus legal, et cetera, et cetera. So they're paying, let's say, 680, 690 to get out of a $600,000 property if they wanted to move. So obviously, it doesn't make sense, not feasible, but what options do they have? They either have to do that, or I know we talked about this months ago. What's wild about that is that they could technically convert it to a rental, but no lender on the new purchase is going to say, oh yeah, we'll let you convert that property into a rental at 110% loan to value and just keep it as a rental. Like, everyone's going to look at that mortgage and be like, well, hold on a second. The mortgage is more than the value of this house. We're not going to lend on this other property because we're at risk now. Like, this is a liability issue for the new lender as well. So the whole thing is just like, it's kind of backwards, and that's an extreme case. And that's, with new builds, especially, you are taking that risk if the market shifts, which we've seen. We talked about these stories months ago where people were walking away and builders were, basically, I wouldn't say taking advantage, but people were having to walk away because of the price reduction and not being able to close, and, prices going down 200,000-300,000 in some cases. And this seems to be happening more often with these new builds. So the market is so, hot and cold. Like, some areas, like an existing home, like you said, marketable. People are looking for, a marketable product that is in a good location, well-established neighborhood, close to schools, close to shopping, et cetera. Those are selling really quickly. And then you have these kind of new builds that were bought at the peak of the market, probably, at the time overpriced, now have kind of balanced out. And these people are in these positions where they can't sell, they can't move, they can't downsize. They just kind of have to stick it out for who knows how much longer until either they can make larger payments and pay down that balance, or the prices increase enough that they can actually sell and at least break even. Have you guys seen any of that? Or is this was the first time I'd seen that specific circumstance, or at least that someone's coming to me and talking to me about it? Like, I'm sure it's happening more often, but that a client's actually saying to me, this is our situation. I think most people are just not telling anyone if that's their situation.
I agree with that. Like, I haven't heard that personally, but I know that, from what I'm watching and studying a bit, I mean, we've talked about defaults before increasing. There's going to be more of that. Unfortunately, I heard of something interesting the other day. Maybe you guys can speak on this a little bit more if you know that a lot of lenders are now, well, I shouldn't say a lot. It could be private. It could be A lenders. This is where it becomes a little bit vague for me, but it was a very interesting comment. They were saying that there are some people who will come up to renewal and are going to have to be instead of just signing off, they're going to have to be reapproved with their current lender to get their mortgage. So they're saying that some people may even have trouble getting a mortgage again with the lender that they were using previously, just because of all these new circumstances and changes. Do you guys know anything about that?
No. So on a renewal, if you're sticking with the same bank, they're not looking to requalify you. So long as you've been making your payments.
So it
all
could be
that.
if you were like in arrears, maybe it may be a different story.
Yeah, if you're in arrears, then they don't need to, like, they'll issue a non-renewal notice and they will tell you got to get this off the books. Like they're not renewing this mortgage and you're going to
Unless
be a
you catch
default
up.
and they will take legal action if not dealt with appropriately. And then they need to go qualify with another institution. And at that point, they're then having to qualify at their, based on their current income, their current situation, and that's where the value of the home comes in versus the mortgage, that sort of thing. But if it's with, an A or B lender and they've been making their payments, as they should have been, when they're up for renewal, they'll be sent an offer for renewal. We always say that client, depending on their circumstance, maybe they don't, even if they don't have the ability to move that mortgage because of the, loan to value or because of their income change, everyone still has an ability to call that lender and still negotiate that rate.
Yeah.
What they're offering doesn't mean you have to stick with that. Even if, PD offers X rate, doesn't mean you need to accept it right away. You can wait, look around what else is out there, go back, call the renewal department back, say, I have these options for rate or with other lenders, can you match that? And I had that with a client this past week where I guided them of, hey, I think it would be easier based on timing as well for you just to renew with your current existing lender. However, what they offered you is not what the going rates are now and what they're even offering for rates. So here's what their best rate is. Here's what the rates are. Here's the number for their renewal department. Give them a call and negotiate it. And they were able, they called, they said, well, let me get back to you. I don't know if we can do that. And obviously they called back a day later and said, yeah, well, you know what? We can do that rate. That's,
we sharpened our pencil.
4%. Yeah. That's 40 basis points less than what they were offering.
We don't want to lose you, value customer.
But people don't do that. But yeah, long-winded answer. You do not need to requalify if it's on renewal, as long as you've been making your payments as you should have, but still negotiate that down, even if your circumstance has changed, or try to at least.
Are you trying to grow your mortgage business? Centum has the tools and support to help you take your business to the next level. Get access to everything from free unlimited custom marketing to daily direct pay. Find out what your business can do with Centum. Learn more at joincentum.ca.
Are you thinking of buying or selling a residential property? Relationships are at the heart of every real estate transaction. At Geltin Poirier Avocat Lawyers, we love to bring residential buyers, sellers, agents, lenders, mortgage brokers, and the law together to close the deal for you. For an effortless client experience that opens doors, call us at 613-744-4488 or visit our website at geltinpoirierlaw.ca. Let's get to the heart of your deal.
I have another story. If you guys want to have a story of the week. Yes. I had a client recently who had a July renewal, similar situation, but what happened is they had a first mortgage that was at a higher interest rate than what they had hoped a few years ago because they had to renew at that time. It was a shorter term. They ended up having to get a second as well. And they also had a bunch of unsecured debt that was kind of weighing them down. So they came to me basically thinking they would have to sell, thinking there was no options, thinking this was up for renewal, and just the renewal costs. Just to renew, I think, was $6,000-$7,000 to renew with that same lender. So I spoke to 3 or 4 lenders, all kind of sitting in that kind of 8 to 9% range, and none of them were able to get it done. The ratios were just too high. They said, like, there's nothing we can do for these clients. I basically threw out a Hail Mary to one last lender as far as, like, I just didn't think after this experience that there was going to be anyone that could do it. And the lender was able to do it. Not only were they able to consolidate all the debts, but they were able to do it at a very competitive rate of 669 in that space.
Great.
So to me, these clients, like, again, without having these conversations, they have no idea. Now, we refinanced up to 80% of the value, but they have the equity in their home to be able to do these sorts of things, take themselves out from this situation and actually better themselves in the next, it's a 2-year term. But these are the things you're able to do when you have that equity built up, in comparison to those other clients who have negative equity and literally have no options. Like, there are options so long as you have that equity built up in the home. And there are lenders who are willing to work with you based on just kind of equity-based lending. But there's those clients, again, that are just, there's nothing we can do. Like, Dave and I speak to clients like that are over leveraged and these clients are over leveraged, but there's at least solutions. Other clients are over leveraged, and we have no options. Like there's literally, they can't even sell the house. So I do feel for those people, because it's really,
They exist.
I shouldn't say, yeah, like it's really nothing they could have predicted as far as the market shifting.
No.
You obviously, everyone buys a home expecting it to increase in value. And again, to not pump the market, we're very aware that the market was down last year and we're in a slow recovery process and rates are on the slow decline. Like we're in the market. So like, to say that we don't have a finger on the pulse is, kind of ridiculous compared to people that are just kind of tuning in once a week and maybe reading headlines. But I will say that we're not trying to paint roses here. Like there are situations that are much worse than others, and there are people that have no option. And I do feel for those people, but I think it does most of the time start with a conversation with a professional, not at the water cooler and not with your parents and not with reading the YouTube comments. Actually speak to a professional who's in the business and has options for you and can actually walk you through what solutions might be available, because there's probably things that in some cases people don't even know exist that can actually help them. Like in that case I just explained, they thought they were having to sell their house and now they don't have to. Not trying to pat myself on the back. I'm just saying that there are solutions for people that don't think there's any possible way they could keep their home,
Paul, that's just you pumping the market.
Yes. Yeah. Pumping the market.
We don't offer any help or advice. We just pump things. We just pump you full of lies and
swarm.
and sleep well at night.
That would have been another home on the market, another listing, but now it's not.
Well, those clients also would have likely have gone to a debt consolidation company, or and looked to, and maybe those individuals, they're in their line of work, they don't always suggest or look at equity in a home, and that's where unfortunately I see so many people also doing consumer proposals or bankruptcies, thinking that that's the only option, but it's like $30,000 in debt, and they have all this equity in the home, and they're not getting the proper advice or looking around, and they're just talking to one of these consolidation companies and that's all they know. They don't know, and they don't look at all the other options out there. And these individuals are just taking that, that can just be wiped away and it's not going to impact me. And then they go to renew, or they go to try to pull out some equity from their home or do something, and then realize they could have just consolidated everything, but they've shot themselves in the foot for many years to come because of that.
So I had a client this week tell me they spoke to Easy Financial before they were referred to me. Different clients. This isn't the clients I was talking about, but they referred to Easy Financial. Maybe I shouldn't. Well, these are their public notes, so I don't think I'm saying anything offside. So they were offered basically 13% rate. This is like a home equity loan, 13% rate, 3-year term. You could pay it off after the 3 years with no penalty. So you're basically kind of locked in for 3 years, or you suffer a massive penalty. It was a $100,000 loan. There was a $250 kind of setup fee, which seems reasonable, but then a 10% registration cost, or like home lien search. So basically like FNF or basically the registration, which is, let's say $1,000. They were charging 10% of the loan. So basically they were going to pay 10 grand just in, like setup fees, and it's a percentage. So imagine borrowing, let's say, like 100,000, you're paying 10,000 just to get it set up, plus 13% interest. And this is not even a predatory lender. Like there are private lenders out there that literally like look for these clients, and they're charging, 15%, charging 4% fees, knowing that these people are never going to get out from under this. Like it's literally just a Band-Aid for a year, knowing that they're going to then have to sell the home or renew with them. And they're just, they're pumping their own stocks, not the market.
That's terrible. That is predatory lending. Like that's absolutely disgusting, those terms.
So
I don't know the situation. I don't know their
situation
or their equity or what's going on, but that's awful. If if there's somebody listening that is thinking about going and talking to a lender like that or getting terms like that, please like ask around, shop around. If you're thinking of going and filing consumer proposal or bankruptcy and you own a home, please talk to somebody else, get some other advice from other professionals before making that decision. It's not to say that a bankruptcy or a consumer proposal might not be the solution, but if you have a home and you're looking at that, please talk to others and get advice there, because you shouldn't be getting to rates like that or filing a CP if you've got or bankruptcy if you have a home and you've got equity. I just see it way too often, and it just kills people's credit and situations for many, many years.
You guys heard, I'm assuming this week, about the person allegedly posing as a realtor.
Yeah.
That broke into the Ottawa home for a fake showing.
Yeah.
Wild. You want to touch on that quickly? I know we talked about it
100%.
offline, but
Because people need to be aware of this stuff, like these types of scams. Like they're so in depth and elaborate.
you actually have, I'm going to pull up the actual CTV article and there's a video there. Stephen, if you can, are you able to play that video? And then that way everyone can hear what's going on straight from the horse's mouth.
Tonight, and we begin with an Ottawa family out thousands of dollars after a townhouse they were set to move into turned out to already be rented, and there may be more victims. CTV's Caitlin Wilson has been following the story for us today and joins us live in studio with the latest. Caitlin.
Kimberly, those in the industry say scams involving rental units are becoming more common. But what stands out here is in this case, the person actually went to a showing for the property by someone who they thought was a legitimate realtor. Jordan Zaid was supposed to get the keys for his in-laws' new house this weekend, but the rental fell through after the person who he thought was a realtor told him it was a scam.
It was like just a complete shock to me. And the first thing I thought of was, how can we get our deposit back?
It started when he responded to this listing on Facebook Marketplace, a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom townhouse in Barrhaven listed by BSV Liberty. So his mother-in-law went to see the property on June 12th.
The real estate agent looked exactly like they did on the sign outside the home, already had the door open for us. And when we went in to tour the house, they gave us a tour. Everything seemed fine.
And neighbors say she wasn't the only one.
We did see a lot of traffic. There was probably about 10 families in and out through the whole course of the day.
But as it turns out, the person who was showing the home wasn't the real agent on the listing, and it was a fake showing. Jordan says a neighbor saw a locksmith truck earlier that day.
They assumed that
my
locksmith
God.
that was called was the one who ended up opening the door for them. And they showed the house as if they had the key.
The property was originally listed on Realtor.ca by an agent with Details Realty in Stittsville, but the brokerage says that agent only showed the property once. What's more is the agent who Jordan believed he was speaking with also used the same name.
Our brokerage has been running for 19 years. We've got close to 100 salespeople. We've never had anything like this, so this was totally foreign and an absolute shock.
CTV News reached out to 3 other realtors with properties listed by BSV Liberty, including one in the GTA, properties that have since been deleted. All 3
That's probably
say
good.
they've never heard of that name.
So what do you guys think of that? What was your initial reaction when we kind of saw that headline or the article?
Well, it's not a surprise. I mean, things like this can happen in any city at any time. I think the key thing that people should do when they see an ad on Facebook Marketplace, first of all, is research the name that they're seeing. Go check out the page where it came from. And maybe, I don't know, it's kind of silly for me to say call around because you wouldn't know to do that if you're, newer to the industry. But I mean, there's ways to protect yourself against that. It's just, you just have to verify all the information, make the calls. I mean, of course, people can get fooled and these guys unfortunately did. But yeah, I don't know. Like anytime, if I have someone looking for a rental property and the situation is like dire, so like I'm helping, but certain people won't work with you on Facebook. Like, I mean, I look on Facebook Marketplace. I find a lot of agents have it rented. I find a lot of people who aren't agents have it rented. But I mean, I do like a deep dive. I find the name. I do like LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Google. Like I check out everything and read up before I even reach out to them, just to make sure that I'm actually speaking with the right person. Fortunately, I can also look in the back end of the listing and see the owner's actual name if it came to that. Try to find that person. But anyways, it's beware. I guess hire a professional to help you. Hire a professional to help. You don't pay. You don't pay.
It's such a sad, like elaborate story of like, the sign out front, the listing, having the door open, I don't blame, you can't blame though that individual that got duped because like it was set up so elaborately. It's pretty wild the extent that people are going. I think to Greg's point though, I think that's a great suggestion. If you are looking at a rental, if you are looking to buy, that's where hiring your own agent that represents you to go and look at these listings, or to, whether it be on rental or purchase, you've done your due diligence ahead of time. They're working for you, and they can check, the Gregs of the world, and they can check in the background if this is legitimate or not. But aside from that, yeah, I mean, I think just doing your own digging prior to these, but it's pretty wild.
And it's unfortunate that still in this day and age, a lot of people don't know that there are realtors who do this and can help and get paid from the landlord or the seller. Like, that's how commissions still work, and it's going to be like that for a while still. So I again, like I just feel badly that people don't understand that. Like, I don't get it, how with all the information that's out there, if you're looking for a rental, why you wouldn't go on YouTube or go on Google and just say finding a rental in Ottawa, what to know, like, just get all the facts. Don't just reach out to somebody and then give them $5,300. Like, it's not the 1990s.
But but even at that, I've rented out my own places before, and you put an ad up. Back then it was Kijiji or anything like that, or wherever, and you're the landlord, people are reaching out.
Yeah.
But the same thing, who's to say that I'm the landlord of that property? It becomes really tricky for people that are in a desperate need of housing, and to get a home, and they see something that they like, an ideal that, whether it be a realtor showing it or whether it be the landlord showing it, how to trust or believe that that is the individual that owns that home. It's, I don't mean to bring this back to mortgages, but when Paul and I are helping clients with their financing, and we ask for every document under the sun, and it seems like we're about to ask you for blood samples and teeth x-rays, it's really because the lender doesn't know you from a hole in the wall, and they don't know who you are. They don't know your history with credit, with where that down payment's coming from, what your income is. You can just say like, oh, well, I'm salaried, here's a pay stub. But they look for multiple ways to verify that that is truly what you make, or that income or that down payment is where it is or coming from, because they have to rely on the information that we're providing. So that's why they're asking for letters of employment, pay stubs, bank statements to verify those deposits all align as well, year to date on a pay stub to match up with that letter of employment. And they're even going to call your employer, because there are such elaborate scams out there and people falsifying documents, especially when it comes to such high valued transactions, whether it be a rental for $5,300, that's a huge sum of money, or hundreds of thousands of dollars for a purchase where people falsify that they own that home, and they're selling, they're selling that property and acting as if they own it, things like that. And so, we have to do our due diligence as well as mortgage agents to represent the lender as well, to protect them.
I do think Paul, I do think that landlord eventually, because of things like this, will need to have documents available to potential tenants who aren't represented at some point. You know what I mean? Professionally, like, it'll be legal. If you want to be a landlord and you're renting your home in Ontario, you need to be aware that these documents are necessary to present to any potential tenant prior to them seeing the property, or, you know what I mean? So that, and that's not a bad thing.
Or a public way of verifying.
The more legislation will come in to make that happen. But I mean, that could be years from now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just in regards to the income verification, I was going to say I had a client who worked for a national company as a tradesperson, part of the union, had a letter from the union and from their employer, but they were working cross province. So they actually moved from Ontario out east, and then they were working out east, but also doing kind of like, jobs still in Ontario. So the lender spoke to their employer, did a verbal check. So we had 2 letters of employment, pay stubs, T4s, all with the same employer. They contacted the employer to do the verbal. The employer basically said, yeah, he's still working between the East Coast and Ontario. So then the lender came back to me and said, now that we know this, we basically need to factor in additional shelter costs, because of the fact that when they stay in Ontario, they don't live here. So there's a cost associated with that. So they factor in the shelter cost of the expected cost of them living here in Ontario while working. Now, luckily, the client also had kind of like a per diem like stipend for that travel time. So we were able to kind of use common sense and go back and get an exception on the income. But something like that where, you have multiple letters of employment, you have pay stubs all confirming the same income, there's still always kind of that little asterisk where they do that deeper dive and, something happens and someone who thinks they're just a salaried full-time employee actually has a more complex income structure than they think from a lender's perspective. So we just never know until we lift the hood what's under there. And that's why, again, to Dave's point, that's why we ask for all these documents up front, is so we can try to mitigate these things before we get to the point where it's a firm offer and we're 3 weeks from closing and we get a pay stub that's a bit off and now we're scrambling, and the clients that causes undue stress, and there's a lot of factors in there. So trying to mitigate problems, Gregory. Problem mitigators.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have a client right now. They were kind of misled, I guess, by a realtor actually, where they were connected with them somehow. I don't even know how they met. It doesn't matter. But they met and said, "Can you help us find a rental?" And she said yes. And then my now client noticed where we are. And they said, "Yep, give your notice. We're going to find something for you." And then it didn't work out. And they ended up firing her, and she came my way through a friend, a past client and friend. And now we're struggling to find them a place. We're being denied, everywhere. This is off topic, I guess. It's just thinking rentals, but it's just getting the help is where I'm going with this. And now we're having a problem where being denied, can't get the right place because of a few factors. And now it's a bit of a panic, right? So now what they're doing is, I've told them, I said, start looking on Marketplace, start looking on Kijiji, just do stuff, send them to me. If I can help, I will. If not, go see them and I'll advise you for no fee. I mean, my goal is just to get these people into a place, because now they've got basically 30 days to find a home. So there's so many things going on in the rental world as well that are just very, very stressful for people right now, with the rental market still being,
and that's what leads to them being, and that's what people like this, scam artists like preys on, right? Is that, that urgency to find a home, it's shelter. People need their, somewhere to live, or their family, or they're having to move for whatever reason in short order and they're rushed. And so unfortunately there are people that prey on those individuals. So for anyone listening, really, we just wanted to highlight that, really. And I guess the biggest kind of takeaway to me is, like Greg said, is just research that listing agent or whomever you're speaking to find out and verify that it is actually them. Call their brokerage even, and just verify that they work there and the details about the property, or dig into it.
For sure, if you're on your own. I want to bring something up here before I forget. Again, what we spoke about Ashcroft last week, Sam Beebe. And I think this is him who actually responded to this. I just want to review it for anyone that didn't know what was going on with Ashcroft in the city. The comment is, "Thank you for discussing the dispute between Ashcroft and the city of Ottawa. I'd like to provide some additional context regarding the situation in the East Borough development in New Orleans. Over 120 buyers find themselves caught in this conflict. Since 2017, several buyers have signed purchase agreements with Ashcroft, and I am among the latest buyers, having signed mine in October 2019. Unfortunately, despite the construction of approximately 24 homes in the third phase of East Borough development, the city has not yet authorized Ashcroft to deliver. Buyers eagerly await." Like, that's insane. Just screwed. I wonder what that's going to turn into once it finally. There'll be further repercussions, I imagine.
Doom and gloom, pumping the market. Everything.
Should we get into some mood boosts?
Ready to rock. I actually have 4 today. And number 1 is in honor of my eldest son, who is graduating this week from high school. Big day. That'll be 2 graduates in the house.
Wow.
Very happy.
Huge.
Number 1, what did one veggie say to the other when they graduated? Time to celebrate. Wasn't good. It was just, topical.
Yeah.
Number 2, what do you call a boomerang that won't come back? A stick. Not the greatest today. Number 3.
Oh, for two.
Two windmills were standing on a wind farm. One asked, "What's your favorite kind of music, Greg?" The other said, "I'm a big metal fan." Big metal fan.
Got it.
And last but not least, Sundays are always a little sad, but the day before is a Saturday.
Well, yeah. Well,
Speaking
slight
of doom
win
and
on
gloom.
that one. Slight win.
1.5. 1.5.
1.5. Better than one. Better than one. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast. We are back in the saddle. We're here every week, all year, 24/7. Tune in Wednesdays to new episodes, 10 a.m. And as mentioned at the onset of the show, be sure to check out our channels, check out our socials. We have exclusive content on there. And thank you, as always, for listening. Gentlemen, any closing
Thank you.
remarks?
No, just thank you,
No.
everyone, for listening
great.
to us.
Gratitude. Great
As,
job.
as everyone
Attitude of
slowly
gratitude.
gets off YouTube right now. No one's listening anymore. We're sad. We pump
Bye.
the market too much.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe because we'd really like that.